Alrighty. Bum 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 bum. What is up, good people? Dun 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 dun. Bum 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 bum. What is up, y'all? Done with class. Did some whatchamacallit. Let this all connect here. What is up? Just got done with our class. So pretty good there. What's up, everybody? Hope you are well. Hang out for a little bit, share a few things. Class was good, so that's always nice. What is up? What up, my brother? Um, yeah, we had our class tonight, our C&P class. I got to catch up with a bunch of stuff. My inbox is flooded, but I'll take it. I will take it. What is up with y'all? How are y'all doing? How goes it? Where are you tuning in from? Where are you? Got a bulletin channel for the TikTok folks, so we're across in different platforms. So we are live on YouTube, Facebook, um, TikTok, Instagram, the whole 9 yards. So let's see. What's this ridiculous hit piece on? Yeah, the Washington Post, man. They're just it's low hanging fruit. I've dealt with a few reporters, sadly, over time, where it's easy to generalize something and to try to discredit what folks are doing. Again, it's an honor system. If it was an honor system, just take that for what it's worth. It's an honor system. Uh, what honor? Because I could literally tell you about so many countless veterans that we have helped, many who have sadly passed away. There was no honor for them. So what are we talking about? Um, and arguably, as far as fraud and things like that, that's rampant pretty much everywhere in some shape, fashion, or form. So we're not immune to bad apples. That's the biggest thing I would say there. But it's always funny how these things really, come across this way. But it's ridiculous, man, to say the least. But it is definitely ridiculous. That's definitely the sentiment there. Um, so yeah, r- ridiculousness ensues. Yeah, what's going on, Andy? Andy on Instagram, my brother. What's up with you? Let's see. Little B, I got my reevaluation coming. So nervous. Reevaluation for what? What is being reevaluated? Um, for the TikTok folks, we have a broadcast channel. If you haven't joined that, feel free to do so. Try to play around and see what that looks like and test that out. So that should be interesting to see how that kind of works out to communicate. So that popped up on my page the other day, and activated it. So I'll start scheduling these lives going forward, so you kind of can see them and try to schedule them and do stuff like that. So like tonight, I pop in like after class. 'Cause I'm already here at the desk, so we had our Ace Your C&P class, and then knocked out some content and some videos I wanted to touch on. So got to catch up on some of that. Um, Yango, Yankee Tango, the other side, other platform. Start posting some things there too. So if you're not following there, do so. Veteran DP. two things I think I covered today that I'll put out is some stuff about Chat GPT, AI, and some of the services and help that's out there. So yeah. On single hello, just scrolling. Saw you were like, yeah, yeah, just hanging out like for a little bit. Have see Pittsburgh, Georgia was in the building. We have Atlanta, Georgia's in the building. Awesome. Let me know the branch of service as you see the scrolling stuff there. Branch of service you were in and years that you served. Let's see. Ren just got 30% rating last week. Um, when were you shot and when did you get out? Your reevaluations in February. Um, all right, so I just got my reevaluation coming up. Nervous, medically retired in February of this year. Check. And what's being reevaluated? Do you know specifically the call for what that is? We can touch on that a little bit there. A few things you see behind me here. Also for the crew, which I think comes in handy, is let's see. Dun 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 dun. On the link in my bio, you'll see the Ace Your VA claims page that we have. So I'm not going to show a few of that what that looks like, but most notably for the CMP folks, the CMP course you'll see there has a lot of cool stuff. I'll show you a few things here. And then for my active duty folks, we also have our PDD course there, so you can definitely check that out. OSA CMP on Monday. How did you file it? Did you submit any relevant medical evidence? Was there any opinions that you added to the mix? That helps to kind of get some type of feeling on what you have there. For that claim, B-Wash. Just had my reevaluation for mental health. Can they increase it? Yeah, yeah. So on the reevaluation, depending on how that goes, you can potentially walk out of there with either things are the same or things have got worse. So it's not uncommon at all for that to happen. So how long were you at the previous rating? Supplemental claim. Okay. And what did you do at secondary to for the OSA? Air Force is in the building. Aubrey, 86 to 94. 80% service connected. This year, working towards the hundo. Waiting rating for TBI and residuals. Okay, okay. And I'm assuming you already had that, and you did it secondary to tinnitus and depression. How did you? Did you do it by yourself? Did you get help? Did you have like how'd that whole thing look for you? Interested there. I've seen those tinnitus. They said it got worse, and I'm at 70 for that Air Force. It might it could have got worse, but does it meet the requirement for the 100? Right, that's where it gets real subjective. So you could be like bottom 70, mid 70s, high 70s. Again, there's no such thing as it, but just to give an example, right, where you may not meet the requirement for the 100, but you may for sure have the requirements, to solidify keeping you at 70, but the argument for the 100 may not be there because it's symptom based. So, yes, it got worse, but again, define what is worse specifically. What does that mean? So, not saying that it is not worse for you, but sadly, sometimes that it can be a little misleading. So, for example, let me bring it up here. Doop. On the rating criteria side, right? You're at the 70. Did I zoom in on this thing here? There you go. I want to try to make sure that it looks somewhat decent, I guess. I guess that'll do. But yeah, you could be at the 70, but you may not have the symptoms may not be firing off for the 100. So, again, a few ways to kind of look at that there. But we'll see what comes back from it, right? If anything, you'll end up where you are, and then you can make an argument for other things potentially. So, more than one way to skin a cat for sure. Let's see. Ran Air Force parachutist, 16 to 22. Air Force in the building. Let's see. In the abdomen, required 2 surgeries. I had no clue what I was doing with the rating system. I saved my med paperwork, but it didn't help. I didn't think to get a rating for years because I don't think I would qualify because I thought I was fine, but a friend said I should get tested anyway. Check. Um, and now the two pew pews that you had, the two surgeries you had post the pew pew situation, was that in combat? Was that Sayside? Give me a little background as to what that was looking like. Um, let's see. Over to Take a Talk. I was just reading some comments on YouTube. They said it got worse. Got it. They told me I should take meds or get therapy. He did say it's compelling. Okay, that's objective for sure. You see the Washington. I've been waiting for a minute for you to go live to ask. Yeah. I just literally had said talked about it. I'll do a little deeper dive on it here in short order. Have had my share of run-ins with some of these newspapers, and it's low hanging fruit. It's lazy work. It's lazy reporting. It's easy to demonize something that you don't understand. It's easy to put the term honor system on something. But the problem is, if that were the case, right, and it was honor system, then I have at least five veterans I'd like to bring to the conversation who are no longer with us, who are passed away, who were not rated properly, who the system neglected. I failed to see what the honor was for them. So let's be realistic here. The numbers are not astronomical. There's a baseline of what our numbers look like from year to year. It's easy to cherry pick things for strategic value. But if you want to get technical, show me then the outrageous failure rate that is the VA. Show me the outrageous failure of the VA getting things wrong, the inaccuracies that they have had, the error rates they have had, how they failed veterans over and over again. So it's easy to kind of point the finger, and it's like, wait a second, is there not a system in place to vet things? Is there not a process? Because if that's the case, then let's also demonize workman's comp. Let's demonize Social Security disability. Let's demonize every public program that's out there. But the part is, honor system for this thing. Well, first of all, I fail to realize where the recruiting office was closed to you. It was open to you how it was open to me. We chose. Let me know if you hear me. I think Straight Talk says no volume. Everybody else seems to hear me, but if you don't hear me, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, because someone said they had no volume. Might be on your side. But I fail to realize where this concept comes from. Again, it's lazy reporting, it's cherry picking information, it's sadly sensationalism. Again, think about it. We would not be talking about the Washington Post unless they did something this ridiculous. So sometimes, sadly, in the space of business, the only way to be relevant is to say some outrageous things. And here comes that, right? They say that, they know it's going to elicit a response from the veteran community. It's going to get a response from those that are sympathizers and empathizers and supporters of the military. It's going to elicit a response from those that are negative towards the military or the veteran space, right? Those that have the I wish I could have, I almost served badge. Cool story, bro. You didn't. Shut the fuck up. In the grand scheme of things, right? You could take 20 or 40 fucking $billion and fucking send that some shit somewhere, but apparently we're the problem. These nuts. What I mean? So it's, to me, it's a sensationalism. It's a quick way to get eyes on a product that no one's talking about. When's the last time I've heard of the Washington Post? When the whole scandal with Bezos was going on, nobody reads that shit. So what I mean? So it's just lazy stuff, sadly, and it just helps to get eyeballs on a dying product that's irrelevant, right? Like, where is the mention and the highlighting of the positive things? I had a reporter who reached out to me some years ago, and it really bothered me, actually. This conversation I had with this reporter, it almost got to the point where I really wanted to walk away from this whole space because of what happened. And again, those that have known, I've been in the space since 2000. Shit, 18 now. So going on 7 years plus 7 years now. So I've been in this space for a long time, is my point. And you have your ebbs and flows, ups and downs. And I came to a point where, it happens over the years. You have your highs and lows. But this last one, it really affected me. And more so because of what happened. Long story short, a reporter had reached out and they wanted to talk to a veteran who we had helped. And one of the veterans we have helped, she went through the PAC Act and she sadly is diagnosed with breast cancer and it's terminal. She's stage 4. I had worked with her husband some years ago and he reached out, didn't know what to do. We helped and she was able to file her claim. The PAC Act had opened um, reproductive cancers. So she was able to file for that, get that subsequently, and put her in contact with this reporter. And the reporter had a conversation with her and interviewed her. And I felt great in that I gave this veteran the ability to share her story. I gave that veteran the ability to, you know, given that we're being positive, obviously, and we're trying to be positive, but the fact is, if nothing else, she can tell her story and hopefully that helps someone else. So, what happened? The reporter speaks to the veteran, and then came the gotcha moment. And the hit piece, like the Washington Post, was one where the focus was our companies charging for PAC Act claims. And the last question, after interviewing this lady and wasting, spending time talking about her story, what she's been through, what she's going through, the whole nine, um, she says, "So did they charge you?" And the veteran said, "No, they did not charge me." And the reporter said, "So they helped you with your claim and, you did the PAC Act, cancer stuff, and you didn't get charged?" I said, "No." Fast forward, the reporter did not run the article, did not add her into the article because the piece was about companies charging for PAC Act. That was basically the gotcha. So she was under the impression that I would have offered this veteran to speak to her, and then that would have been the gotcha. Look at these actors charging veterans to help them do a thing, but did not. That was a pro bono claim that we did. I'm not going to charge someone who has terminal cancer for support. We did everything and above and beyond. But the reason it bothered me is I'm of the mindset that you can waste my time, but don't waste my people's time. You can waste my time, but you're wasting this veteran's time who already is on a limited time. If she has a limited time and she literally is terminal and she got her hopes up that she could tell her story and hopefully help someone else to get seen, to whatever the case may be, that was just taken. So you literally wasted her time. That really, like, that floored me because it's like, hey, I can take abuse, I can take the drama, I can take the thing. But then the fact that I subjected her to this, and it was like she kind of gives me the update of, hey, I'm sorry, but they said they're not going to run this. That devastated me. That put me in a very, very, very negative place. And it's like you can't win here. You try to do the right things, and it just all came spiraling down. And obviously, the veteran, she was able to not really get too phased by it, but she was disappointed. I spoke to the reporter, and I said, "So, why?" And says, "No, that was not the focus of the article." And I said, this is the reason why the entirety of your profession is complete horseshit. Because sadly, what you want is rage bait. No one cares if you help an old lady cross the street, but you do care if I run that old lady over as she crosses the street. That's what you want. Why can't you speak to that side? If you were talking about bad actors in the space, then why won't you tell her story? Because it didn't fit the narrative of the negativity? Because it didn't fit the narrative of claim sharks? Because it didn't fit the narrative that you were trying to go for? So when is there a positive spin or a positive article where you highlight the good in the space? Because yes, they're bad actors. Yes, there are sharks. Yes, there are bad folks. But there's also good people. Why the fuck will you not highlight that? Oh, that's not how it is. Bullshit. We've talked at length. We've gone back and forth, and all you do is waste a veteran's time who's already on borrowed time. You can go fuck all the way off. So I'm sharing that to go back to the Washington Post thing to say that it's funny how they always find these gotcha moments or try to do these hit pieces, but they never highlight anything positive. They don't make a point to do that. And I get it, right? It's spin, it's attention. No one's going to turn the page and talk about this. If there was an article on the Washington Post that said, good people doing good things, nobody would bring it up. But because it's sensational and it's a hit piece, of course, here people will come and talk about it. So sadly, granted, the headlines will never sell for good things, but it's disappointing that they could not, at a minimum, give some context to the other side. Hey, call it hit piece, whatever. But there are still caveats, some good actors, right? There are some people who are doing the right things, who do care. So when I see things like that, it's literally to me a dying paper fledging for attention. No one picks it up. No one goes to their website. I have not been to their website. I don't intend to go to their website. I sure as shit ain't picking up their paper. So, if that's what they have to do to try to get attention, then shame on them, right? But sadly, my bigger problem is like, again, my take will always be different than people in this veteran claim space. I don't care for the big numbers. I don't care for the sensationalism. My problem is there's a veteran out there right now who's on the fence of filing a claim, who has reservations, who has fears, and sees this or reads that, and it deflates them or it dissuades them or it outright, scares them from doing something. And they are the ones that need to do things. Like I'm not here to argue with someone or something. I'm here to find the person who is completely um, let down and disenfranchised by the system. And we're trying to instill a sense of hope that this is possible. And, sadly, articles like this and things like this, man, they just they tend to really do a number on the people who need the help, right? So that's what I would say. What's up, Jay? So that's my 2 cents on that. Again, adding context as to not me just saying screw that piece. No, I've had interactions with freaking papers. I've got calls from reporters. You're online, you're on social media, people look you up and all that stuff. But let's see what goes in the building. Let's see, 2006 to 2011 on TikTok, waiting on a supplemental claim results currently for mental health and TDIU. Check. All right, all right. When was that CMP that you had? Um, let's see. Have my head to toe exam tomorrow. Yeah, no. Like I covered in the course, when it comes to that, it's head and you're talking about all the things, everything, right? Head to toe, and the biggest thing too being flare ups that tends to sometimes get missed in these examinations. As you're exiting service, right? Not everything's going to be on 100. Don't hurt yourself. Don't injure yourself. Some people think I have to go hurt myself before I go to a CMP. Don't do that thing. I think being able to speak to flare ups and how things are on their worst of days, that I think is big, for sure. And having all that listed, because even if they don't rise to the level of disability today, they'll be very helpful to have annotated should things get worse later, for sure. Let's see. Hey, Mark, appreciate you, my brother. Let's see. Straight talk. Trying to get back up here. Appreciate you, Balenciago. Let's see. Highly recommend his classes. Yes. And again, behind me, you'll see some of the classes that I definitely want to encourage folks to look at. The Ace Your BDD claim and the Ace Your C&P claim. I just finished teaching my live class and recording 3 videos. So on my Wednesday nights, I'll teach my class, then I'll have a huddle with my team afterward because my entire organization is virtual. So when we can get together, we do a thing. And then I recorded some videos that I would then go on to edit and post later on. And then figured to pop in here for a little bit and hang out. So, yes. Thank you, Mark. Were there changes to P&T? Everything is no changes. So the proposed changes are still proposed. No changes to P&T, sleep apnea, mental health, tinnitus, or anything like that. File. Shout out DP. Shout out to you, Michael. I just got a question about my job and how they affect my chances to get approved. I was asked how my disability affects my job and school, but I didn't want to make it seem it's causing it to make it worse, but didn't know if it also helps in rating how it affects my person. So a few things, Gio. One, what are we talking about specifically when it comes to what you're filing for? What are you filing for? Right, that matters. So a little context as to what is it you're filing for might help to steer, because again, it does factor in. If we're talking something like mental health, it's an occupational and social impairment. So both of those things matter as to how it affects you both on the personal side, family side, social side, but also work side. Currently under exam review. CMP was January from the original claim, but I've also been hospitalized. I'm sorry to hear that. Since then, not sure if I'll need another exam or not. Just got connected with the wooden award part. Yeah, so a few that can happen a few different ways, Balenciago. Um, Sometimes if there's enough span, things have happened, some material differences or what have you that pop up. It may merit them looking at, having another look because things may have got worse. So that is not uncommon for sure. It does happen. Got to kind of rate it out and see how it all kind of goes. But I've seen that trigger a thing. I have my exam in 2 weeks. Should I hide the fact that I'm pregnant? No, no, no. What is the exam is the first question. Um, because again, I for example was a first responder in September 11. I was there in ground zero. Then my deployments to Iraq, I was exposed to a variety of air toxins and burn pits and all that. So I'm saying that to say that, for example, when I had to file for my respiratory conditions, I had to get a pulmonary function test, I had to get x-rays, and then I had a general exam. So being pregnant, you may not be able to take an x-ray. You know what I'm saying? So like again, it really depends. But I wouldn't so much say hide a thing, but be cautious. Obviously, you don't want to go do an exam that you should not be taking, right? To that. But for the general exam, again, if it's pertinent, um, it depends, right? Some things may not really matter to the conversation. If we're talking something like mental health, obviously that adds stressors to it. There's a lot of factors into it. It's not necessarily the focus of it. If we're talking about migraines, that's really what we're talking about, right? We're talking symptoms, we're talking intensity. So it's not so much a thing that's really pertinent to like, oh, by the way, you know what I mean? Like I got a new car. What does that have to do with privacy in China? So if it's not something relevant to what you're claiming, it really isn't. Back pain, working security, but didn't want to make it seem like it's called from there. No, I got, okay, that makes sense, Gio. So yeah, no, again, like the chicken, the horse before the cattle, chicken egg before the chicken hatch, whatever. Um, it's really again, where's it all coming from? So yes, you have a job. The argument here being your conditions to say are service connected or came from service or have been exacerbated or have got worse, that argument matters, right? So let's say you in your Chen's case, for example, have conditions that you already have, and let's say you're going for an increase. Uh, yes, it can you can argue that things have got worse over time, and it displays itself right in the work that you're doing, things like that. So again, where is it coming from, right? Not so much that the job made it worse, but rather because of things you're doing that is affecting you. I talked to a veteran last week who has conditions. Things are getting worse. They work in like stocking, supply, warehousing, but they can't do that thing anymore, and that makes their situation even worse, right? So it's not so much that this job caused the problem. He already had the problem before he was in there, and it's all kind of have gone downhill. So that matters for context. Behind me, very quickly, I definitely want to highlight the BDD course and the CMP course. You can get through it in about an hour. It is the cat's pajamas, if I do say so myself. So I definitely wanted to highlight that. This is what it looks like when you're actually in the products themselves. So just to kind of give you a sneak peek, because again, we have active duty folks, we have folks that are going for the CMP, but the fact that you have all the materials here to include modules and resources that are coming with this. A lot of time was put into this, right? So it wasn't just like a random. I saw a video online of like someone paying for a course for something, and it was just like some cockamamie cheesy thing. But here, no, like full blown, videos that I recorded specifically for the course. So it's not just like rehashing, repurposing something. This was specific for that. So the only place you'll see these things are in the course, right? They're not like, oh, a combination of things I have elsewhere online. Resources and guides and bonus materials there as well. I'll show you one, for example. Here's a CMP red flag guide. There's a few pages to it, so there's only one of a few pages. But again, you can see some of the things that we have there for the BDD folks, right? Something to the effect of a template writing sample that is in there for that course that we have. So you have resources, you have bonus materials that are part of the course as well. And I just think it's good to at least kind of see what it looks like, because you can work through it realistically in about an hour and change for both of them. Same thing on the BDD side. Everything here being broken down. Actually, I should have probably said that just to show you very quickly. So this is, and I see the questions, so I'll answer them here in a second. But for the CMP course specifically, it's 5 modules. So the first module, it's welcome, obviously, what is a CMP, why it's important. Module 2, we're talking understanding a CMP, and I go over different things that are in there. Then we have bad CMP exams and how to recognize them, to go into tips, do's, don'ts, information, understanding the CFR and DBQs. I actually show you how to look up the CFR, how to look up DBQs, and I walk you through that process. I talk about preparation, why it matters. I give you statistics and information, so you have that there as well. A bonus video that I have there with mistakes and common mistakes that we've seen over the years. So trigger warning, it gets pretty graphic in that video, but it's for a reason. I could never post it online because community guidelines, there's that part. And then a bunch of materials there. I have a Ace Your C&P exam prep checklist. There's a symptom breakdown worksheet. There's a quick reference guide that I have in there for a CMP exam, how to write your statements for a bad CMP exam, as well as a red flag guide that's there. And again, I showed you one example of like what that looks like there. So that's all in there. You have lifetime access and all that stuff there. If you know someone who's active duty who is looking to separate, this course is for them. And this one breaks it down into 10 modules. It's a little bit more that's going on here, because here it's breaking down, again, what is the BDD claim? What is that for those active duty folks? Then we're talking understand the BDD process. We're going over understanding, or rather gathering evidence and medical records, right? What do I do? How do I do it? That matters. Then we're talking strategically selecting what to file. How do I file it? Then we go into labels. What mean? Presumptives and PAC Act. I go over sleep apnea. I go over the separation health assessment for the active duty folks, that SHA, Alpha and Bravo. Final steps before you submit. Then I have a bunch of resources, links, and forms that are here, as well as some downloads. Records gathering checklists, a strategic condition planner, a statement writing template, the separation health assessment prep sheet, top rookie mistakes to avoid, a quick exam guide, a tinnitus statement template that they can look at. And then here's, for example, a one-page copy there of the first part of the statement writing template for the active duty folks. So again, showing it because I think it matters to give some context to what's there. So that's a big one that I think is very useful. All that stuff, the link is in my bio. If you click on the the link in my bio, it will take you there, so you can see all those things. Let me see, catch up on some questions here. 2 tours, OIF 09, 08, OEF 10 to 12, no medical records, any suggestions? Yeah, so a few things. You have some presumptives in place. The biggest thing becomes now, what are we dealing with? I would highly encourage you to get seen, to look at diagnosis. You want to have those things in place. What are we dealing with? There's a reason why sometimes there's no medical records because we don't get seen, right? We serve, we deploy, we do the job, we don't go to sick call sometimes. That happens, not uncommon. But are there things you are dealing with now? Are there things that are presenting themselves? Like a lot of my GI issues and respiratory issues didn't manifest or really become very noticeable for years afterward. That happens a lot with presumptives. Same thing with like Agent Orange. A lot of the Vietnam veterans did not start to experience some things until literally years later. So sadly, some of these things do take time to pop up. So I would start for sure getting a workup, starting to see what you're dealing with. What are some of the things that are affecting you now, for sure. So I would definitely say that. Kevin's in the building. What's up, my brother? Um, Vernon has the gentleman you had referred for the record. I meant to text you back. So he did reach out, and Vernon is on it. So I did tell him you had referred him over. I have my CMP, my help CMP exam tomorrow. I am extremely nervous. Honestly, you could literally run through the course behind me here, in about an hour and change. I would highly recommend it. Um, both from again understanding what the CMP is going to be, having resources, should things go right, wrong, etc. You have all that there available. So I would definitely recommend that. And again, it's understandable to be anxious. I don't know if this is your first claim, Rivera. I don't know if this is an increase. I don't know if this is a something that you are appealing. However, if you're walking into something, I always look at like a sports analogy, right? We know the terrain. Okay, so it's your first claim ever. There's a lot of unknowns. I have a background in law enforcement. So when you're doing like room clearing or you're going into an area that you don't understand, right? There's a lot of fear. I don't know what I'm walking into. I don't know where things are at. And I make this comment for you or specifically because it's your first claim. The reason that I would highly recommend this course is because the fact that if you don't know what you don't know, then you're going to for sure be very nervous. Whereas for me, it's like me telling you, hey, I understand the layout of this room. The lights could be off. I know where everything is at. So, like in your house right now, if all the lights are off, you know exactly where everything is at. You can walk through your house, all lights off. Why? Because you know where everything is at. Unless you have a dog or kids and they move things around, right? So, when it comes to the CMP, it's the same thing. It's one of those things where you don't know what you're walking into. And I know people love to bring up these whole, you know, advices and things like that, but going specifically to the CMP, I'll actually jump over here and show it to you this way. I said this tonight in my class because I was teaching our live CMP class. If you don't know the rules of the game, how do you call foul? Think about that for a second. If you don't know the game of rugby, how can you call out plays or fouls or say what's right or say what's wrong? If you don't know the game of cricket, same thing. So when it comes to the CMP, it's more than, hey, what do I say? You don't understand. It's equivalent saying, well, you know what? This is a double dribble and this is, you know, this and this is that. Well, what's a double dribble? What's a foul, right? What's out of bounds? Like you don't know the rules. You don't know the game, let alone the rules. So the reason I set these up, as you see behind me, you can walk through these modules, but the biggest thing is, first of all, why is the CMP exam important? Understanding the CMP exam. First of all, what is it? Let's understand it. What is a bad CMP exam? How to recognize it? What are some tips? What are some do's? What are some don'ts? How do I actually look at the CFR? How do I look at DBQs? What should I do if things don't go the right way? What are some preparation tips? Those things matter. And of course, a bunch of bonus materials that you see there. But for me, it's more so, and then this bonus material, which is again me kind of really going into the weeds of some tips and things like that. But for someone who's going at this the first time, again, the claim is filed. Now it's go time. And you want to walk in there very confident, not just I watched the video that said say this thing. Why are you saying that thing? Because it may not apply to you. And I think that's what matters or is missing a lot of times when it comes to the VA claim space. People are real quick to give an idea or give an advice with no context, right? Someone's going to ask a question, I'm stuck at 90, how to get to 100? I don't know. What are you ready for? What's been denied? We need context. So for you, it's the first claim that you're going through. What is the claim? What did you file for? How did you file it? And more importantly, now, how do you present yourself and speak to the rating criteria, speak to your impairment, speak to your symptoms? So those are the biggest things that I would say, matter for sure. So I'd highly recommend the Ace Your C&P course, but I would offer to you by way of advice that it is a present tense conversation. One of the biggest things that veterans get wrong is, and it's a right, and again, we've all been there. So please don't think like I'm mightier than thou. Trust me, for me, I was in the same place too. Um, there's this mentality that I should be rated because of what happened to me, and that's not how VA claims work. It's not a conversation about what happened. It's a conversation about what's happening now, and that gets lost in the sauce. You have veterans that think, well, I should be rated because I did this or I did that, and that's not how it works. The conversation is that I was in service, certain things happen, and now here's what I'm dealing with. And if you don't conceptually understand that, you start to go down rabbit holes in an exam like this and talk about things that are, let's say, past tense, but you're not telling me about what's happening today. What is the impairment level? What are the symptoms you're experiencing? How is it affecting you today? What is going on right now? It seems very trivial. It seems very simple, but these things get lost in the sauce because you just don't know what you don't know. So you go in there and you start spurting out all these things that you think, or you're saying things that you heard people say that may not apply to you, right? Um, so for sure, it's about how it's affecting you right now. It's about what's bothering you right now, what's impairing to you right now, what has risen to the level of a disability. And I think that what we don't do a good job of in this VA claim space is we don't differentiate the difference between a medical condition and a disability. A medical condition is just that. A medical condition is literally a diagnosis. It's migraines, right? Migraines in and of itself is not a disability. PTSD, not a disability. IBS is not a disability. Migraines is not a disability. These are medical conditions. It becomes a disability when the symptoms that I am dealing with are beginning to impair me, are affecting my life, are affecting my work, are affecting my social, et cetera, et cetera. It's a conversation of an elevation of the situation. And again, it's simple. Like it's simple when you kind of put it this way, but it gets lost with people because sometimes a veteran files a claim and they get stuck in this mentality that I have to walk in here and go over 1,001 reasons of what I am diagnosed with or the medication that I'm on, blah, 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 blah. Right. So, not understanding how arguments are made, right? How do I put together and craft the argument that matters for sure? And again, I break that down a lot in the course there. So, I would highly recommend it. The whole course, you can watch it through. I'd say like in an hour. I think it was about that one was an hour on the dot. And you can obviously replay, rewatch, whatever the case may be, but it definitely comes in handy. Okay, let's see. I was looking for something else. I think I have it right here. Yes. So this here, um, I think is something that gets also. This goes to the whole question too, like with the cancer and stuff, right? Again, okay, we have a cancer in place. What is the argument that we're making, in a sense of how are we connecting something? So what you see on top here specifically, I'll be touching on this next week in my navigating VA claims class. I teach a basics class on Wednesday, and then I do my C&P class, so I alternate them. But these are the three things you really want to have if we're making an argument for service connection. What exactly is, do we have a current diagnosis? Do we have a in-service event or stressor? And do we have a nexus connecting those two things? And that sometimes is missing in a veteran's argument because they don't have all those pieces there. So, okay, so now understanding these three things, is there now a way that we're connecting said condition, right? This cancer, is it part of a presumptive? Is it something that's already in service, right? We have it now, got it, but we still have to satisfy its requirements. We have to be able to annotate and point out, is this something like the veteran that I spoke about who was deployed and exposed to things that now are recognized as things like reproductive cancers, aka breast cancer? Because of her exposure, that's a presumptive in place. The argument could be made. So how do we tie it back, right? So we have a diagnosis, right? It is PTSD, it is this, you have cancer. Okay, now how are we linking it back, right? Is there a clear line to do that thing? And if not, that becomes part of the work now, to articulate to the VA, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, this is where I'm at, this is what's going on. And that matters, right? So, I think that helps, at least for some folks, to get a little bit of context as to how arguments are made. Because if you don't have those pieces together, you're not doing yourself much favors, right? Uh, let's see. Thank you very much. I appreciate it for sure. And that's what it's about. You know what I mean? It's if we can get our veterans to a place to understand, I think that goes a long way. Because if you understand conceptually what you're saying, what you're doing, why you're saying it, you can walk into a VA C&P exam and have a conversation and explain what's going on versus I heard this guy online say this word, so I'm going to say this word to you, doctor. Rate me, please. Enter now the Washington Post, right? Enter now the rigging of the system. Enter now people assuming something because sadly it becomes a repetitive thing. I can talk to literally, you know, 50 veterans and I'll hear the same thing over and over and I know where it's coming from, right? You saw a video, you saw this talking head, that Yahoo over there said that this is going away, that guy said the sky is falling, blah, 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 blah. Why are you arguing this? Why are you following this? Because your friend did? All right. So those things matter. Um, check. Right. So now that changes. So that, again, perspective, right? So now we're looking at things that were removed on active duty. Now you have other conditions. So again, in that case, there you're exposed to something that led to that. That thing there, connects to potentially to where you're at now. So obviously, a workup there comes in handy. Looking at where you were, service. Is there presumptives in nature? Do we have a terror argument? Is there a toxic exposure risk activity that potentially can make the argument for that? When PAC Act was kind of like the cool thing on the block, a lot of veterans were really enamored with this concept of PAC Act and TERA. TERA, for those that don't know, is the toxic exposure risk activity. So this is where you start to look at where you're exposed to something, that you do something that would predispose you to these things. Now, the problem is a lot of veterans don't understand presumptions. So you can't file for Gulf War. You can't file for Agent Orange. You can't file for PAC Act. These are things that you're exposed to that now become the kind of like the title umbrella of what you're going to file. So, for example, if I was a jet fuel, specialist, whatever, back in the day, and I was exposed to JP8 jet fuel, that's a Terra argument. Now, I'm saying because of my exposure to this, I now also have developed these skin conditions, these skin cancers, these fill in the blanks. And I'm arguing that these things have developed in me, right, beyond just genetic predispositions because of my exposure. Because I was exposed to Agent Orange, I have this, right? And again, those more common things like diabetes and Parkinson's and certain cancers are already listed in place, but there are other things that may not be presumptives in nature, but have to be then developed. And then they enter the workup, enter the VA doing the terror assessments and all that, and in turn being able to make that argument. Oh my God, we used to clean with JP8. I knew it wasn't good when they suggested it. Again, but now fast forward, you were exposed to JP8. Funny I said that, right? Because it's very common. So you're exposed to JP8 fuel, and now you're developing all these conditions. You're having these ailments. You're having these neurological things. And again, back in the day, depending on when you served, OSHA what? OSHA where? I was in ground zero literally for at least about 2 months before they gave us proper protective gear. So we're in here freaking in the pits of New York City, burning building fumes, smells, all this crap for a period of time. And then they're like, here's some mask. I've been freaking here for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a day in the mix of this shit, right? Um, so sadly, that's kind of how things go, right? You're exposed to asbestos, you're in the Navy, you're in quarters and confines and places where OSHA was not a thing. Fast forward, what's the argument now? But again, we have to know the line of reasoning, right? The rationale. And I think these are things that for sure are helpful to talk about because if you understand how we're crafting arguments, this helps a veteran be successful, right? These are the conversations that we have. If, for example, you want to talk to someone on my team, I would recommend it because this is kind of how the conversation goes. It's literally a let's look at your situation. Let's see what you're dealing with. Let's do an assessment, right? On the link in my bio, you have the ability to reach out and have an assessment call with my team, which will help you get perspective, right? Not just outright, be pushed down a rabbit hole of something needless that you may not need. So these things I think matter. Obviously, for me at least, it does. Education matters. It's not the cool thing on the block, but guess what? When you're going down this rabbit hole of BA claims, it definitely comes in handy. Um, so I would encourage you to hit the link in my bio, check out the page, veteransnetwork.club. You can see the things that we're doing. This is the Ace Your VA claim tab, and you can see all the things that we have there. If you want to see who we are, we're real people. You can literally click on the About Us and you can scroll down. I got prior VSOs. I got prior VSRs that worked at the VA on the staff, and you can see who they are and kind of get a warm and fuzzy for the crew there. Some of the things that we're doing, as well as our advocacy and things that we're doing on that side there. If you go to the VA claims tab, though, I would encourage you and welcome you to check out the new bot that we put out too. We have a VA claim bot that we put together. So we created a chat GPT type of thingamajiggy there, and it looks like this. And really excited with it because it's beyond technology. Now, again, I'm making a lot of videos talking about AI and things like that. So I'm not bashing AI because immediately people start thinking like, oh my goodness, you're talking about this other Yahoo over here. I'm not. I don't care. um, I have, literally one of my master's degrees in cyber security and digital forensics. So I'm very passionate about technology. So I'm not against it. It's just more, these are tools, right? How do we use the tools? But this one specifically, we created this bot of the few that we have. But this is forward facing and it gives you the ability to get a lot of good information. We trained it. It's spooky because it sounds like me. So we've loaded and trained it on my lives, on my classes, on one-on-one classes that I've had. So it's not just a random, hey, here's an AI thing. Rather, here is something that we created and developed that is trained to us. And when you come to it, it'll look like this. And you can, again, find it on my website. You see it on my link in bio, go get it. Click on get started. And what I like about this is that it'll give you a breakdown of kind of where you're at, right? So for me, it's like, okay, how does this make sense for someone? So, where are you, right? Not just randomly get pushed to this one thing here, but have you filed yet, right? Are you active duty? Have you already filed? Have you been denied, right? Do you know where to start? Do you not know where to start? So if you are someone who's in that BDD window, again, the conversation will start based off some prompts. And then from there, you can have a conversation. You can ask questions. Is this program worth it? Is it not worth it? What do I get? Yada, yada, yada. Go through that whole thing and off you go to the races, and it will break down a majority of different things for you, and it gives you details there as well, right? So even if you want to just play around with it, reach out. What's the advisory? What is these services? What do you guys have? What do you do? Is this something for me? Blah, 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 blah. All that stuff is there. You have the ability to at least get some good feedback and not just some random, Google scrape type of thing there. So can evidence for claims come? So yes and no. Yes, it's subjective, Geo. We're looking at also, and we're looking on the reserve side. We're looking at, are there LODs in place, right? Sadly, when it comes to the reserve side of the house, paperwork is something people don't like to do. I know this. I was in the National Guard as well, so I understand. But LODs are something that comes in handy when we're talking VA claims. So I would highly encourage what kind of records do we have, right? What do you have to support what you're trying to argue? Was there an injury? Is there something listed there? Those things matter. So it can for sure. Check Daniel. Good. Good. All right. But yeah, just kind of like I said, I wanted to hang out for a little bit. Class was good tonight. Hung out with some veterans, got them ready for their CMPs. Specifically here, again, hit the link in my bio. We have a lot of cool things here that I think are helpful, and they've come from the request of veterans. So check them out for sure. I don't understand the question, Tanisha. What letter? Are we talking SMCs? Or are we talking? What are you specifically referring to? Um, but yeah, so that was pretty good. And then I got to work on these videos that we recorded. So we have a lot more of that coming up. I don't know what's going to happen with social media, but trying to make a push to the YouTube side of the house. So I think that is something we're doing, especially for like long form. It's just better for research and things like that. I have a lot of content on TikTok and other places too, but YouTube tends to be very helpful when it comes to categorizing things and doing stuff there. So I'm gonna refresh, clean that up, and that's something that will be the focus, especially with all this uncertainty with other platforms. Who knows? Um, let's see here. So, are you ready, Tanisha? Like again, where are you at with the stuff? Right? Do we have a rating? Are you ready for TBI? You know, what are you trying to do? Is the first thing there? Is there any forms on top? What do you mean forms, Geo? Because again, a form is just gonna annotate something you can use to write down things, but what specifically? I may be missing some of the things you may have written, Tanisha. So, a disclaimer too, because of social media and talking about the things that we talk about, sometimes things don't get through here. So I go kind of, go down, the comments as I see them, and I'm not ignoring anybody. I outright literally just see what I see. Some comments do get stripped, some things do get taken off, so I may not see them. If we're typing conditions or medications or things like that, sometimes the system will scrape it because community guidelines, which is ironic to me because you could sit here half naked, apparently, zoom into your crotch and, thirst trap, and that's fine. But God forbid someone says migraines. Um, so yeah, so that's that part. Outside of service that helps with. No, so Geo, so on your side again, but also too, like, what is your situation too, right? Um, in your case, I know that you're kind of following something, but how long have you been out? Are we looking at new claims? Are we looking at increases? That matters. Civilian records, for sure, if that's what you're asking, they come in handy. Medical evidence is medical evidence. So whether it was in service or outside of service or private records, those are all pieces of evidence that are weighed equally. So that comes in handy for sure. So not so much forms, but more like, yeah, for sure. Uh, Medical records, documentation, diagnosis, treatment, things of that such, for sure, are part of the argument. But back to my original point, right? This is also a conversation beyond just the fact that I've been seen 1,000 times by all these providers. That's not necessarily going to prove how bad something is. That's just saying that you've been seen how many times. When we're trying to look at the claim side of the house, it becomes a conversation of severity and intensity, is what I would say for sure. SMC past 100 being paid for things like, yeah, for sure. Say okay. Now that's again, I need that context because outside of that, it's just like, what are we talking about? Um, so yeah, so check to Neely's point there. I don't know if you saw that beforehand, but that's the first time I'm seeing the whole write up narrative there. But agreed. It definitely depends on the evidence you have for it and if you meet the criteria. So yes, you could be 100% there, but there is a requirement and criteria that they look at for the SMCs. And if you have that, for the most part, usually those things will trigger. If it's there, some things may have to be obviously, filed for, things like aid and attendance and what have you. And then for things like the TBI side of the house, right? What is the impairment level beyond the rating itself? Is there a rating for TBI? And in turn, does it meet the requirements for that additional SMC? And again, to the questions that Nayeli is asking, who is on my team? So, not a random person just asking. For example, I got asked my VSO to fill out 781 for my anxiety to help my claim. So that's, oh my God. Sweet baby Jesus. this is the reason that I am at times triggered. A 781 form, as you see here, is a statement in support of a claimed mental health disorder due to an in service traumatic event for PTSD. This is where we're going to say something traumatic happened, and we're given details, as you see the form is asking, to to verify, validate, point the VA in a direction to say, hey, this is what I need. Um, and again, and I'm not, again, please understand, Gio, this is not against you at all, right? They told me to do it, didn't really ask, I got it. For me, the frustration is a waste of time because that's not the form you're going to use for that, right? If you're looking at a personal statement, that's a whole different conversation to support and give your narrative of what you're dealing with. This is a form specifically for a PTSD claim, personal assault. You are having to note something traumatic happened, something that caused PTSD has happened, an assault, a personal assault, an MST, a PTSD event, what have you. Was there loss of life? Was there injury? Location, unit, time, event, etc. These things are what that form is used for. So not against you, but that's the problem, and that's what to me sometimes it's like. I love that people like to, go, your VSO is going to take care of you. Yes, fill out a form that has nothing to do with this thing, which makes absolutely no sense to add to the conversation if that's what indeed they told you, right? Like that's not what that's for. No. Um, a 4138 or 1 to 10, those forms can be used for a personal statement, lay statements to give your narrative for sure. That's helpful, but that's not what this is. This is specifically for PTSD. So that's why it's more frustrating because to your point, you assume, and I'm going to cover this in a video that I'll put out here in the next few days, that this accredited person, this VSO, has led me to greatness. I just showed you. Bullshit. Wrong answer. Right? I'm telling you, sometimes the help isn't very helpful and misleads people. And again, that's one example of so many ways that sometimes veterans are given the wrong information and they don't question it because why would you steer me wrong? Yeah, okay, you do those things, you get denied, and then we're having this conversation later. That doesn't help that at all. A personal statement for sure can add context, Gio, to what you're dealing with, and it's giving your perspective. But again, why are we filling out these forms? How should we fill out these forms? What exactly is the right way to do a thing? You were just given the wrong form. Let's see. Sitting at 94, disability, have an open claim for tinnitus, evidence statement, tinnitus. Okay, check. Residuals are you dealing with now? Does it someone care for you? Check. Let's see. In attendance, he told me to do it. Didn't really ask. I didn't. Every day, Paul, help you back, drive, etc. He was denied caregiver support. Right. And again, context for sure, right? Where are you? Are you still in the service? Have you left? I was told by DAV to wait 5 years before I filed for TBI because I just got 100 when I retired. So Tanisha Nayeli on my team was a VSO as well. You can go to my page and see her background. Um, I don't know where in God's green earth there is a rule that says you must wait 5 years. So you know what? You deal with the issues and the care that you require. Let that go by the wayside. The additional things that you need to be able to function. Let that wait 5 years because they just arbitrarily made up this number. Two instances of failures here. Apparently, we need a 781 for anxiety, and we must wait 5 years after getting 100 to file for something that we rightfully require. You literally can't make this shit up if you wanted to. It's lazy. It's lazy work. It's lazy advice. And the sad part is veterans don't know to push back and ask a question. Why? Why should I wait 5 years? Help me understand. Where does it say I have to wait 5 years? 'Cause I promise you, it's not in any regulation. It's not in any manual. It's not a thing. But you deal with 5 years. So there's that part. He told me to file because my denied claim said no event, injury. Yeah. Check. But yeah, that whole 5 years thing to me is ridiculous. So definitely wouldn't co-sign on that. But even then though, and again, I would say it because I can. Um, what a crazy concept. A very genuine answer, Tanisha. We don't necessarily have a service that would fit for you, but we can still have a conversation, give you perspective, so you can go forth and do great things. You know what I mean? Like again, there's nothing fancy to market when it comes to the fact that you just try to show up and help people and do the right thing. Um, because apparently 5 years is one way of them saying, look, this is not worth our time to do something that has no residual benefit to them or their markers or whatever. Literally can't make it up. But yeah, find a different condition is not the way to go. And again, this is more so bullshit. So the reason here is that you were denied because there was no event, injury, call to active duty. So now just do this other thing. So file anxiety, use a 781 that is for PTSD. You're not filing for PTSD. You don't have a stressor for that, which in turn is not going to help you make the argument because again, what are we arguing anxiety to? That something happened in active duty during AT during drill weekend that we can point the finger to, right? Like we have to assess the situation. Just randomly shotgunning things, if that's the advice that's being given, I am very disappointed in that thing, right? So in your case, okay, you're at 40, but what is the 40 comprised of now? Are there potential increases there? Are there potential secondaries there? Like there are arguments that can be made, but whatever the hell that person is telling you, just based off the things you've shared, is completely asinine. I'm trying to increase anxiety, and it's like the more we go down this rabbit hole, the more that my anxiety gets triggered. You could literally get you could literally get the course above me, come to my C&P class, file for an increase, argue to the symptoms as to how things have got worse for you, your personal statement, and that is going to be enough to make an argument for the increase. Do not do a 781. Do not do whatever that VSO said. Again, there may be other VSOs in the in the sphere out there. I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about the dipshit who told this veteran do a 781 for a condition that you do not have, use the wrong form, and submit it to the VA. We're going for an increase. Help me argue my increase. Again, you literally can't make this shit up. Like the jokes write themselves. But yet the same people will sit here and try to say, oh, but go back to that person. No, do not go back to that VSO. Fire that VSO. That VSO does not know what the fuck they're talking about. They have an accreditation and bullshit. You're already service connected for mental health. The argument here becomes an increase. We potentially have an argument for secondaries. Does the PTSD, does the anxiety rather, cause other issues that we can potentially argue? That's the conversation to have. But apparently, this VSO has the inability to put two and fucking two together. You have a mental health conditions. They are very common secondaries to a mental health condition. And guess what? Did they explore that? Was that conversation had? No. Do a PTSD form for the increase to your anxiety. That doesn't work. That doesn't factor that way. Whatever that person is telling you is completely wrong. How is it this conversation is more productive to actually help you figure out what's going on, but they are not? So again, it's not on you. The problem is that this is what people point people to, and it becomes literally a spiral of I went to this VSO and they told me incorrect things. They told freaking Tanisha over here, wait 5 years to file your things. What? Baby, I'm trying to make it to tomorrow. 5 years? Look, I'm trying to make it to the end of the year. I'm here for a daggone freaking good time, not a long time. You know? Um, yeah, don't contact him, block him. That person sucks. They suck. There are some good ones, but this is a bad one. You know? Um, it's just very disappointing, sadly, that these things happen and no one has the ability to outright give you perspective. Sydney's in the building. Brian Lofton helped me. Brian Lofton is the cat's pajamas, so let's just get that straight. I have service-connected anxiety to asthma. Meds make me shaky and jittery. Meds caused it for me. Check. Brian Lofton is cat's pajama. He's one of our advisors. 70% PTSD due to 2 MST. I filed a fully developed claim for migraine with logs, meds. I have insomnia. Why do they want my psych notes? Yeah, please don't tell Brian that. We gotta keep up the facade. Um, did you file for insomnia? Because that goes under the mental health side. I would not have gone down that rabbit hole for the insomnia because you already have PTSD, so you already have a mental health condition. So that would not be the way to go there for sure. Um, yeah, yeah, Gio. I go to my link in bio, go to the About Us, and literally just go there and pick Nayeli seriously because have a conversation. That's all. That's what I'll just tell you. Have a conversation with her because already this conversation we're having, we've established that that person just sucks ass and doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. So hit the link in my bio, go to the page, and literally scroll down. Boom, there's Nayeli, prior VSO, and she's on the crew. Real people. If anybody messages anybody out here, and I'm just showing it because it's happened, sadly. I talk about claims this way. This is the problem. People like to watch and lurk, and they'll DM you. It's happened. One of the veterans that Nail is working, somebody messaged them, and they were like, "Hey, Geo, thanks for watching DP's live. If you need help, let me know." That person did not work for me. The veteran reaches out to me, and they're like, "Hey, DP, your dude didn't get back to me." I'm like, "Who are you talking about?" "Oh, so and so." This is my team, right? We have to get Tamika's page up, picture updated, but this is my crew. If they're not on my page and they're not on my website, they don't work for me. So, there you go. Yeah, reach out. Um, yeah. So there's that for that. Do-do-do-do-do-do. But yeah, we have classes, we have courses, we have answers, we actually show up, crazy concept, and we explain why things are happening and why you should do something and not just random information that veterans are told. We literally have 3 examples of 2 VSOs that have given horrible advices. So we work with you, Christina. We're not going to file it for you. We're not going to be your representatives. We work in an advisory capacity. But if you go to my page, you go to the link in my bio, it may be different things you need, right? So where are you? Do you need a conversation? I would encourage you to have an assessment call with my crew. Because again, let's break down what's going on, right? What do you need? Are you good to go? Is there an argument to be had? Let's make an assessment, and then from there we can develop a plan. Some people need a class, some people need a course, some people need some one-on-one services. So we have different things, as you see here above me. We have different things that are available there, right? So again, new claims, denials, things like that, the whole gamut. We cover all of that. So again, help is very loose. What does help mean? Hell, we just been here with Geo, literally breaking down his entire situation for crying out loud. So it's helping by way of assessing, of defining, of strategizing, of helping someone execute and putting together the resources and things that they need. That's the biggest part there when it comes to that. Sydney had a great experience with Brian on that side. And again, someone you actually know is like crazy concept. Like, look, there's a Yelly. She's actually there. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's see. Yeah, yeah. If you filed for insomnia, that's definitely what it is. Um, that's triggering that mental health piece there for sure. You're welcome. And again, biggest thing again, reach out. I'm a big proponent of options. I like options. If you go to our website, veteransnetwork.club, link in my bio, you can look around, click the About Us page, um, see the team. Sometimes, people might have some sensitivity to certain things and you want to have a conversation with someone. So, again, two of my folks, Nayeli in the chat being one of them, prior VSOs, two prior VSRs that worked at the VA in the rating capacity, and a variety of other amazing individuals on the team. So for some veterans, it just helps to at least have a woman fuzzy of who I'm dealing with. One of my advisors, she's rated for MST herself. So for some people, being able to at least have an audience or feel like they're seen when it comes to these things, I think that matters. So I would highly encourage a assessment call just to be able to get perspective. And also one of our civilians too. She is not a veteran. She's a mil spouse, veteran spouse, but she's a nurse. So there's that part. Yeah, sweet. But yeah, so some things definitely I wanted to share. Hopefully, some of this has been helpful. If nothing else, we got to give Geo some perspective and Tanisha some perspective. I would definitely not wait 5 years at all when it comes to making the arguments that you're trying to make. It is very discouraging to say the least, because I can already tell you that the conversation that you'll have with Nayeli, you'll have a plan of action in place very quickly because there's definitely three ways to Sunday to argue what you're dealing with. Again, there's a potential increase, there's a potential secondaries and other things that are there. We don't have to try to dig up things that don't exist or make cockamamie, throw things against the wall and see what happens. I filed knee conditions. I have notes from boot camp and exit exam. Why did I get denied for direct conditions? Again, that was a few different reasons there, right? Also, so we start to look at, in this case, where is my little doohickey? Boom, boom. So if we're arguing something for like service connection, these are the main things that we want to have in place when we're arguing something. And we couldn't have a current diagnosis. We have an in-service event or stressor. Sometimes we may not have a current diagnosis, or sometimes the blue is missing, right? We have a current diagnosis, we have something in service, but the medical connection between those two things may not be in place or articulated enough. Sometimes the longer that we're out, that may factor into what's missing from a service connection perspective. So that's one part. And then the other part too is the VA also does get it wrong many a times, right? So you can have everything in place. You can have a diagnosis. You can have an in-service event or stressor. You have your notes. You have everything connected. You're being seen. You have continuity of care. You have literally the ability to connect those things, and the VA still gets it wrong. So that does happen, sadly. So there's a variety of different reasons of why that may have been denied, and until we take a look at it and dig a little deeper, at face value, I can't outright tell you why, right? Because I have to see, how was it filed, right? What does the denial letter look like? What did they say? Sometimes in the denial letter, they got it wrong. Like a veteran files for a secondary claim, and the VA says you never complained in service. We did not say it happened in service. We're saying it's secondary. That's why you got denied. They denied you for the wrong reason, right? So there's many reasons why that may be the case there. Um, mm, 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 mm. I remember getting advice. Yeah, in New Jersey for sure. I thought was a thing. You know, we kind of have now a bridge in place with some of the most current um, things that happen in Jersey. So yeah, we have a lot of veterans in Jersey that we were helping remotely via distance, and now we have some other things in place for them. I continue to get treatment now. I'm doing in-person treatment because I did get worth check. Yep, for sure, and that can be argued. But not a 781 to claim PTSD. We're not claiming PTSD. We're not filling out a 781. We're going for an increase. And then we'll look at other conditions that you may have. Again, things are getting worse. Arguably, there are other things that may send a ripple effect to. So if those things are present, now we have other arguments that can be made. So this is part of the assessment part, right? This whole concept of assessing, you know, what is the situation? What is a veteran dealing with? How do we break this down for the veteran? You know what I mean? Why are they arguing something? Does this make logical sense? These things matter. Next Wednesday, I'll be teaching our navigating VA claims class. But what I will tell you, let me see if I could bring it up here now. Bum, bum. Leggy, relax. Nice. You done? Come. Uh, this is, in a nutshell, what I like to define as how we help. So for Geo, you've kind of seen what this looks like to a degree, but we have to assess the situation, right? We have to define what the problem is, what's attainable, what makes sense, what are the goals for you. From there, let's start to strategize, right, a way forward. And then from there, let's execute. And that's for me like the framework of help because it's easy to say, oh, well, how do you help? Well, define help. Have we assess? Again, the only reason we're down to the nitty gritty of where you're at is because we have to literally assess the situation. It is a complicated process, 100%. And now having at least some perspective as to, okay, this is what you're dealing with. This is your history. This is what you're dealing with. This is what all things that are there. That's literally what's happening right now. And then from here, let's go and define the situation. Let's define the problem. Again, to you specifically, like, hey, how about that? Before, you know, VSO numbnuts over here wants to tell you to do a thing, can we first assess the situation? What is your service history? What is your medical current conditions you're dealing with? What are some past claims? Let's understand what you're dealing with. So once we kind of have ascertained some of that, we can then begin to define a way forward. What can you do? What makes sense to pursue? What evidence is needed to support that? This is part of help. Not just do a, well, wrong form. Why? All right. And again, this is not the clickbaity, you know, flashy topics, but we have to address these things because if not, we see the denials and then we have to fix them. I take meds for PTSD. Meds equal ED, MST, and stressor. They want my psych notes, but why if meds call again to the insomnia? So once that triggered off that thing, they're going to ask for that there. So, um, you know, it's part of that process there. So I think we're kind of going in circles there. If I read correctly, the situation there. And again, how did you file this thing? Yes, in your assumption there, you know, the meds equal ED plus the stressors there, that becomes part of the argument. But how was that filed, right? How was that argument made? These things matter too, because just because, for example, sometimes a veteran may say, hey, look, I have this, this equals that. That doesn't necessarily mean the VA is going to agree with it either. Um, so a few different ways, I guess, that can be looked at. Um, but again, this is where I would highly recommend to have a conversation with my team, right? To book an assessment call, to literally reach out, have a conversation about what exactly is it you're going through and dealing with, because that matters. If we're going to be, you know, brutally honest about what is going on and what do you have and how to solve the problem. So I would recommend that for those out there in internet world watching, asking, commenting, inquiring, reach out. Uh, we're good at what we do, as you can see. We like to be successful and help you solve a problem, and my team is pretty good at what they do. So we show up, we don't fearmonger, we like to educate, align resources to you, help you be successful, meet you where you're at, and help you the right way. That's what it's about, not fearmonger you into a thing or try to, push something down your throat. But in the cases like Brandon, I would highly encourage, reach out, get some perspective, right? Geo, same thing. Reach out, get some perspective. Tanisha, reach out. Because again, I'm not, we're on social media here, we're online, we can't unpack all these different things. Plus, it's half the stuff we can't really talk about anyway. Because I'm not getting any more strikes because I'm talking about freaking trying to check out and dealing with things that are very sensitive in nature because it's, mental health, it's medical conditions, it's disabilities. Anywho's, but yeah, I think that the mission was accomplished. I think we met some veterans where they were at. We answered some questions. We shared the things that were shared some things. Pretty excited for that. Check the link in my bio where you can request an assessment call with my team to get a one-on-one conversation. Thanks a lot. Definitely hope to hear from you guys soon. As soon as you sign up, you'll hear from us immediately. So yeah, we're pretty quick with that. So you ain't gotta wait too long. Um, yeah, once you kind of fill out your stuff for a call, it'll add you to our queue, and then we'll start the process of reaching out and the whole 9 yards. So that'll be pretty easy. Yep, I already see you. So you already, it's already in the system. So um, yeah, I already see you, Gio, there. So yeah. So it's already on our side. Um, yeah. So Nayeli and her assistant will reach out and start the process. We'll coordinate schedules, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see. But yeah, next week we're back at it again with some classes. I have this new thing on TikTok that they added this board bulletin board thing. So I'm testing that whole thing out. Try to schedule some lives, pop in, answer questions, and all that good stuff. So stay tuned. I appreciate y'all. If I didn't answer your question, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's because I did not see your question. The social media likes to strip comments and questions. So there are certain things sometimes that you may say, comment, whatever, and it'll literally remove those from the chat. So I won't see it. You might see it, but I'm telling you, I'm not seeing it. And sadly, it's a thing because community guidelines. That's the craziness of it all. Alrighty. So for those out there, good luck on your upcoming exams. Keep us posted as usual. We are a link click away. Check out the things that we have. Find what works for you. I always encourage an assessment call. If you can make it to a live class, do so. If not, check out the courses because they're made specifically for your situation, as you will see when you read up on it. Right? So, have a great night and be back next time. Looking forward to seeing you progress and make some moves the right way, Gio. Tonight's theme, no 781 for anxiety. Can't make it up. Thanks, y'all.